Hello and welcome to the Gfinity Arena for the grand final of the F1 Esports Pro Series presented by Aramco. This year has been the most hotly contested championship we have ever had, with the drivers being separated by fractions of a second on the track, and any small errors have had a huge consequence, especially as they've been battling it out to the final turn. The question is, which one of these young men will be able to hold their nerve?
It's absolutely incredible stuff. This race has come alive now. wins the opening race of the year. Freddie Rasmussen wins at Zandvoort ahead of still championship leader Jarno Opmeer. Marcel Kiefer to win in Austria. Here comes Rasmussen. Side by side they go. Oh, brilliant action between the pair of them. It's victory for Nicolas Longe. What a race at Silverstone.
They'll be starting to feel a little bit of nerves for Jarno Opmeer.
Freddie Rasmussen has never won a driver's title. It's another exemplary performance of team tactics from Red Bull.
What a move, Jarno Opmeer. Freddie Rasmussen brilliantly wins in Belgium.
Another excellent esports race in this 2020 championship.
Regardless of what happens over the next 2 evenings of racing, one thing is for certain, there is going to be a new name on the Drivers' Trophy. We've got 2 races for you this evening. We are at Mexico later, but first up is Japan. And joining me in the studio to take us through all of the action is Natalie Pinkham and Nick Hamilton. Good evening to you both. Great to have you back in the UK, Natalie.
Yes.
How was Abu Dhabi?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, quite a boring race, if we're completely honest, but after all the drama of a few weeks before, you kind of wanted a boring race. I say boring, Max still put it on pole and converted it to a win, so I think it was great to end the season like that. And it just kind of, well, actually, it was Valtteri Bottas who said to me, this keeps Mercedes on their toes, because Red Bull have come back at the end of the season with a surge. So, yeah, it was good.
Yeah, well, listen, it is going to be very exciting tonight. Nick, great to have you back. Are you well? Are you looking forward to this grand finale?
Yeah, I'm really happy. COVID-free, which is a good thing for me. But yeah, no, really happy. Glad to be back. Love being in this studio, especially with F1 Esports. What a fantastic season we've had so far.
I thought you were going to say especially with us.
Oh.
Yeah, I was
That's
thinking
what he meant, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the Christmas tree. Don't forget the Christmas tree as well. Well, listen, great to have you both here. Let's remind ourselves of exactly how things stand heading into the final 3 rounds. Jarno Opmeer still leads, as you will see, and as he has done since the first round win in Bahrain, but his lead is just 19 points from Freddie Rasmussen in second. Marcel Kiefer is a further 13 points back and still very much in contention. Nicolas Longe is in fourth on 88 points, and with a maximum 75 points still up for grabs, he is still mathematically in with a chance himself. Danny Berezny in fifth can't challenge for the driver's title, but his performances this week will be key in deciding the destination of the team trophy. And as we look at the team standings, it is a straight shootout between Alfa Romeo and Red Bull, with Red Bull currently leading by 32 points. Renault back on 86 are leading the charge for third spot, but a good few days for Ferrari or Mercedes could see them close the gap. Right, so both titles still up for grabs this evening. And as I mentioned, 4 drivers still with a chance of taking the driver's crown. Looking at them in reverse order, it's a long shot, but Nicolas Longe is still in the hunt. Nick, he got that win against Silverstone, but a couple of errors beginning to creep in.
Yeah, I mean, he struggled a little bit in his racing. Race pace, he sort of made a few mistakes on the first couple of laps, which put him out of contention, but he's had fantastic pace in qualifying, going P1 in the first 2 rounds of the season, and really shows that he's got fight in him, especially at Renault, which is a new team for him. Keeps his heart on his sleeve, does a fantastic job. This is Marcel Kiefer, who is P3 in the championship. He works really, really hard, really well as well with his teammate, Freddie Rasmussen. I think they've worked fantastically well as a team, really helping each other, and it really shows that they're all about trying to get the team to win the championship.
Yeah, great harmony in that Red Bull team.
Yes.
Freddie Rasmussen, just so consistent, especially this half of the season.
Well, I can believe this stat. Shall I wow you with the stat? He scored points in every single Pro Series event the last 12 months. I mean, that is astonishing. As you say, as Nick alluded to, great collaborative work with Marcel Kiefer. Between them, they have been through to every Q3 in every qualifying this season. He's won at Zandvoort and Spa. And yeah, what a cool customer.
Yeah, I like the way you may have jinxed it there with the Q3, but we'll find out very shortly.
Well, he won in Japan last year as well, so that bodes well. And then, of course, the leader, Jarno Opmeer. He's just been incredible. There's a reason that he was voted Driver's Driver of the Year. He makes that alternate strategy work so well, doesn't he? And it's great for us to watch because he goes long on that first stint and then fights his way back through the field, which makes for thrilling racing. But he's been magnificent this year.
Yeah, those are the 4 contenders to win the Drivers' Championship. And there you can see Jarno Opmeer with a smile on his face. Let's find out if that smile will stay on his face as we head to Japan. With all that in mind, it's going to be a very hotly contested qualifying session as the drivers headed to Suzuka. Nick, you were watching this earlier on in the quali show with myself and Matt Gallagher. And no real surprises in Q1 or 2 with all the main title contenders making it through to the final shootout. But it was an exciting one.
It was indeed. Q3 was the time, or the man of the moment, I would say, with Freddie Rasmussen doing a fantastic job. He ended up putting like a 20, what was it, 24, a low 24 or something, which was an unbelievable lap from him. And I just want to say that all of these guys, from P1 down to like P4, are setting world record lap times in qualifying.
Yeah, well, you saw it on Twitter. You were like, "This is the time that Freddie Rasmussen," and then smashes it again. Which
it was unbelievable. I was so shocked. And Kiefer thought he had pole. This is the most emotional I've seen Kiefer all year. But unfortunately, got a 3-place grid penalty because of multiple warnings throughout the year.
Yeah, it's so disappointing for him. With Freddie Rasmussen now finds himself in pole alongside Nicolas Longuet. We've spoken about him, but this guy in 3rd for Racing Point, who are bottom of the team championship, Daniele Haddad, just finally delivering for his team, giving them something to cheer about. Manuel Biancolila, AlphaTauri, the drafted driver, coming in on 5th place. Jarno Opmeer in 6th. Interesting position, 6th. Can he push himself up to really challenge Freddie Rasmussen, do you think, Nick?
Well, he needs to, because Freddie Rasmussen is going to be taking the lead, isn't he, initially? And it's damage limitation. Doesn't want to give too many points away.
OK, and there you go. Danny Moreno, the rookie driver of the year. Danny Beresny down in 10th. We get down to the back. Alvaro Carton, someone who's performed very well, Natalie, throughout the season. We had high expectations from him, but not necessarily able to deliver when he needs to most.
Consistency's key, isn't it? It's what we're looking for from all these drivers, and many of them have had it, and they've come good towards the end of the season, but not so much for him. OK, well, there you go, bottom of the grid. That is how we will go into round 10. Right then, it's all set up for an exciting race in Suzuka, and we will be bringing you the race when we return.
Here we go then. Welcome back. We are just a couple of minutes away from racing at Suzuka. Now, what can we expect from this circuit?
Well, there's something I love about Suzuka is that so many title races go down to this one. They've had 13 world champions decided at Suzuka because of where it comes in the calendar. It's fast, it's furious, it's iconic. The Senna S's, that famous figure 8 configuration, of course the Japanese superfans who are just another level of committed. And we should mention Yuki Tsunoda, who's just been announced as joining AlphaTauri for next year, which is great to have a Japanese driver back on the F1 grid. But it's a really cool circuit. I'd have to say, talking to all the drivers, they say it's their favourite.
Yeah, and what are fans like in Japan? Are they animated? Are they?
I mean, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, Lewis has a super fan of Japan. Her name is Shishiko, and she literally comes everywhere around the world. She sends him so many different things, so many different gifts, presents. They really, really live for Formula One, and they're really happy people, which is incredible.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Where would be the main overtaking points? When we look at Abu Dhabi, not so many, but with Suzuka, there are opportunities.
Yeah, I would say the pit straight into turn 1 is going to be very vital, and then what was it, 130R? Is it? Yeah, towards the third sector of the circuit is going to be an interesting overtaking opportunity as well.
Okay, you've set the stall out beautifully there, Nick Hamilton. Right then, the drivers are ready. So the first time this evening, it's time to say hello to our commentators, Matt Gallagher and Alex Jakes. Gentlemen, how are you feeling about this?
We are feeling pumped up because it's Suzuka. It is so much fun. It is a figure of 8 circuit, and it's one with huge championship connotations. Matt, we're really looking forward to this.
I can't wait. It's the start of the grand finals. There's so much on the line. Otmir under pressure. The Drivers' Championship lead just slowly but surely coming down. Can he hold on? Let's get this race underway.
So it is time to get the grand final underway. Lights out, and we are racing at Suzuka. Good getaway for Nicolas Longuet. Can he put the pressure on Freddie Rasmussen down at turn number 1? Rasmussen's going to keep his foot to the floor, and he's going to hang on. But a brilliant move from Nicolas Longuet to take the lead. Danny Haddad, after his best qualifying session of the season so far, finds himself gaining a place up to 3rd. Marcel Kiefer in 4th, and it's Tanitsa and the man that we're keeping an eye on with that championship getting ever closer, Jarno Otmir in the top 6.
Nothing to lose for Nicolas Longuet. Sends it into turn 1 and takes the lead. He's definitely going to be thinking, when he looks back at this season, that maybe he could have been in this championship fight, at least for the drivers. But here he is, leading the race on lap 1. We've got 19 laps around the Suzuka circuit. Quick shout out for Danny Haddad. What a brilliant qualifying, and still in the podium places.
So the field just settling down, 19-lap race. Remember, all of the races this year extended from the standard that we had the year before, but Nicolas Longuet trying to check out around one of the great racetracks, always brilliant from behind the wheel. And Freddie Rasmussen looked like he'd done enough, looked like he'd got the track position, but Longuet decided he was going to keep his foot in, was prepared to risk the entire race there. Here's David Tanitsa's made up a couple of places off the race start. Looks like he's trying to line up another one. Our most recent race winner when he took that Ferrari to victory at Monza.
Tanitsa won't be the champion come the end of this season, but he's had an aggressive start at this Japanese Grand Prix. And right now, P5, you've got Marcel Kiefer, actually, who got a 3-place grid penalty after taking pole position in qualifying, but he's still running in 4th on the medium tyres, crucially, as well. So he's just going to want to stay with these guys as much as he possibly can. Essentially, the goal is stay within a second of Daniele Haddad, keep the DRS, and stay with the aggressive strategy runners at the front. If Kiefer stays in this position, he'll be looking strong towards the end of the race.
Yeah, David Tanitsa with the tyre advantage right now on Marcel Kiefer, knows he's got to make use of that red wall Pirelli rubber, and as a result, as he goes through the second of the Degner corners, so compliant on the racetrack right now. He's looking nicely tuned in. Can he make that tyre advantage work? He's going to try and get past Marcel Kiefer as quickly as possible, because field spread is a problem around the Suzuka circuit. You're always so many corners. The second driver, you're waiting for the next driver to put their foot to the floor, get out of the corner, and right now the early progress for David Tanitsa slightly checked by the Red Bull driver.
Sizable advantage for the Red Bull team in the Constructors' Championship. Otmir and Beresne running in 6th and 8th. That's what we're looking at. That's where the prize money is decided. And again, we've seen time and time again, Red Bull very much in the advantageous position right now. P2 and P4, they'll be happy with that. They don't need to take risks. If Nicolas Longuet takes the victory, so what? P2 and P4 with Otmir and Resnay scoring very minimal points is pretty much what they'd be asking for coming into this final week.
Absolutely where they want to be as we go on to lap 3. How much is DRS going to change things? Well, David Tunitsa will hope an awful lot in his battle up against Marcel Kiefer as they go through the fabulous S's section that begins this racetrack. Best section, really, in some people's minds, anywhere on the Formula One racing calendar. And we're checking back further in the order now. In 9th position with Danny Moreno, had an absolutely superb rookie season, and he finds himself ahead on track right now of Michael Romanidis.
So he's running on the mediums. Otmir also on his favourable medium to soft strategy, running in P6, pretty strong. You can see the intervals on the left-hand side of your screen. There's some just tantalisingly close to getting out of DRS. Longuet being 1/8 to Rasmussen, 8/10 then further back to Haddad. As soon as we see that 1 second gap, we could see a 2 or 3 car train break away from the rest of the field. But right now, Alex, you look down, there literally isn't a second between anybody apart from Benito and Caraton that came into the pits very early. That's another thing to look for, is do we see these really aggressive strategies? We saw Moreno made it work so beautifully for himself, pitting so early for the British Grand Prix, off the mediums, onto the softs, and he managed to make it work. So tyre conservation, as we've seen this season, is crucial, and there are so many strategy options available.
Danny Moreno, very, very unlucky in the end with that aggressive strategy, not to find himself taking the victory. He was very, very impressive with that second place at Silverstone, as into the pits to get rid of those soft tyres and bolt on the mediums. David Tunitsa has decided that he's not going to try and put any pressure on the second Red Bull, Marcel Kiefer, going to try and do it with the strategy. Putting the pressure on. Freddie Rasmussen had a great season so far, 2-time race winner. He started in pole position, trying to make it 3 for the season today, and he was getting, at the start of the lap at least, within 4/10 of a second of the race leader. And Longuet, who has been impressive in qualifying, now has to be impressive once again in the races. Nicolas Longuet 4th in the standings going into today's race with that 1 win at Silverstone. Similar circuit in terms of high speed flowing corners, and he's got the advantage at the moment. Rasmussen had a good lap last time around though, and the graphic at the bottom of your screen shows you that.
He has indeed. You can see down on the steering wheel, just through the graphic there, that he's expelled quite a lot of his battery. He's got about 25% left, maybe 20% now, as he's pushing on to stay with Nicolas Longuet. Daniele Haddad's doing a brilliant job as well in P3, still very much comfortably in the DRS window. Crucially for Kiefer and Otmir, they're both out of DRS at the moment, although Otmir looks like he's putting in a pretty hot lap right now to get on board and in the clutches of Marcel Kiefer ahead. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame for Jarno actually that Tunitsa pit, because that was his use of DRS, but he's closing in fast now on Kiefer, that potentially not driving as well as he'd hoped for on those medium tyres at the start of this race.
Daniele Haddad still running in P3, then Kiefer, Otmir, and we focus back down the field to Lucas Blakely, who had a good time in the virtual Grand Prix at the start of the year.
Yeah, where's he been, Alex? Where's he? We had so much hype for Lucas this year after, as you say, the pro exhibitions. He would have been the unofficial champion had we crowned one. But
change of game.
Yeah.
Would that affect things as much? It's a shame, because he seemed in a great place at the start of the year, but when we've gone back to the Esports Pro Series, it's just not quite clicked for him.
That's so true. Yeah, the change of game is certainly a factor. Some people may not think that, oh, it's Formula 1. 1 year, nothing really changes, but the handling model is constantly evolving, and sometimes it will suit you, sometimes it won't. And clearly, Lucas Blakely just hasn't been able to dial it in just like he wanted to. And even if you lose a couple of tenths, we've seen in qualifying and in the races, a couple of tenths is the difference between maybe 3rd and where he's running now in 13th.
Taking it onto the back straight before the 130R, and the driver in 13th position at the moment, ahead of Fabrizio Donoso in the Renault, and the chicane that closes the lap. So Nicolas Longuet trying to break out of DRS range, beginning to get the gaps extend now. You can see Marcel Kiefer hasn't been able to stay with Daniele Haddad, who is looking for a real step forward in the races after a step forward in qualifying. This would be hugely encouraging for him. He's only scored points on 2 occasions this year, let alone a podium. So that will be his aim. He will hope that David Tanitsa does not have terrific pace on that medium tyre. Remember, Tanitsa coming in very, very early on, going aggressive. That's the driver that can deny Daniele Haddad. And of course, with the gaps, with the top three, David Tanitsa will be hoping he can deny all of them and find his way to the top step. The lead driver on that alternate strategy.
You've tuned into my brainwaves, Alex. That's exactly what I was thinking, was David Tanitsa out there on the mediums. It's a really aggressive strategy from the Ferrari driver there. Enzo Benito as well coming into the pits, but he's a further 6 or so seconds back. But yeah, David Tanitsa, we've seen so many times that track position is much more crucial than potentially having a bit more tyre life. And so David Tanitsa is definitely going for that Danny Moreno strategy that we saw at Silverstone. And it could easily be him very much in with Longuet and Rasmussen. He will be under threat towards the end as those mediums start to run out of life, because you can see the rest of the drivers, Longuet, Rasmussen, Haddad, they haven't pit yet. They're running on the softs as well. So clearly they think the strategy is completely different as they all come into the pits now. And we're going to get our answer.
There we go, getting rid of the softs. And up to the lead goes Marcel Kiefer, Jarno Opmeer in second. But in come the leading drivers then, with the Renault continuing to lead. Rasmussen out of the pits, and there is Daniele Haddad in the racing point. And they drop down in the order now to 12th position.
There's Tanitsa in the background.
Where does Tanitsa go? Oh, he's close. He's going to be very close with Daniele Haddad, but not quite close enough to make it work. So they went aggressive. They went for the undercut. Crucial track position kept for Longuet, Rasmussen and Haddad ahead of the man that we're on board with right now, David Tanitsa.
Yeah, big shame for David. Clearly, well, he would have lost DRS pitting so early, and that's a small advantage that the leading runners, obviously not P1, but the rest of the leading runners would have had. So, well, David Tanitsa has a huge task now, a mountain to climb if he wants to get in the fight for the victory here. He's going to have to close in on Daniele Haddad and really make the most of these tyres right now. We're in the best shape for David Tanitsa. As we get later on into the race, he's going to really struggle with sliding and the tyres running out of performance. Right now, it looks like he's struggling to even stay within a second of Daniele Haddad. But right now, as we just saw before these guys pit, a lot of the drivers starting on the medium tyres. How much longer are the likes of Simon Weigang, Cedric Tomé, Fabrizio Donoso, who are ahead of Longuet only by 4 seconds? How much longer are they going to go into the race? Could we see Longuet catching them? And then we could have some problems. But a lot of guys coming to the pits now.
Yeah, let's find out. Marcel Kiefer is coming into the pits. It's going to be interesting to keep an eye on him as the order changes at this stage, getting rid of those tyres. And we have the championship leader elevated to P1 at the moment. His entire season, apart from one race, has really been built on Ploncon, the yellow wall medium tyres. Go deep into the race. Ploncon, there you are. I thought you'd enjoy that. And then maximum attack, as everyone likes to say these days, full send at the end of the race on the soft tyres. That's the way he's going once again today. Changed it up in Monza. Clearly felt that he had to interrupt the momentum of the drivers closing in at the start of the day. 153 points for Opmeer, 133 points for Rasmussen behind him. Felt that he needed to arrest that, did so on the podium again with a strong second place last time, and he's gone back to his favoured strategy today. Lock up for Freddie Rasmussen as he tries to get the pressure put back on Longuet's shoulders. Longuet driving very, very nicely so far, but a long way to go. It is a testing racetrack. We're on board with the 6th place driver.
Disappointed you didn't segue to Nicolas Longuet there with the long way phrase, but no, it's all right.
It's your favourite quip of the year. It's your line, my friend. I wouldn't steal that.
Nicholas even changed his Twitter name to Nicolas Longway, which is just brilliant to see. But the question I posed just before they all dived into the pits was whether Longuet will catch anybody. That's not going to happen now. There's only 4 drivers yet to pit. Bonahuis comes in, making that 3 left to pit. Opmeer loves a different strategy. He doesn't follow the pack. He doesn't follow the flow of what everyone else decides to do. Clearly, on paper, it must make sense for all of these drivers to pit in the last lap to go onto the soft tyres. Opmeer just likes to do something different. Just get out, get some clean air. Don't be interfered by any of the other drivers. Really focus on just setting lap after lap after lap, and then go really aggressive on the soft tyres towards the end. Some of these drivers will be struggling on the softs in the last few laps. Opmeer doesn't want that. He wants to go full attack, full qualifying mode. But that could leave him vulnerable to a few of the drivers that have pitted earlier. So let's see where he comes out when he does finally pit.
Plenty of drivers getting warned right now. Cedric Tomé is one, James Baldwin another. Caraton and Weigang.
More than warned, Alex, penalised.
Yeah, so they're the ones that have gone over the track limits, and they're the ones that you can see on the left-hand side with the black and white flags on the left-hand side of your screen right now. Let's hear from our race leader, Jarno Opmeer, who leads by 1.3 seconds out front.
I think I can continue a bit longer because I'm going to get behind Danny anyway, if I'm right.
Yep, at the moment half a second safe to Danny.
To be honest, I would go to lap 10 or lap 8, 9.
Yeah, definitely go on another lap, you got to get behind Danny.
Interesting. Okay, so obviously all these teams can work out exactly where they're going to filter out after the pit stops. Oh, Kiefer gets very close indeed to Tanitsa, who is on that aggressive medium strategy, already struggling for pace. Kiefer on the soft tyres, and he's going to easily clear the Ferrari driver as we go down towards turn 1.
That is what happens if you go for an aggressive undercut, and it does not pay off. Marcel Kiefer getting through. You can see that Opmeer has come into the pits, and he has a lot of cars to try and clear there, down in 9th position, but with a tyre advantage to go to the end of the race. It's Longe, Rasmussen, Haddad, the top 3, just as it was before everyone made their stop.
They said that Jarno was half a second safe to Danny, didn't they? And he's come out in 9th, so behind Joni Tormela as well. So clearly that in-lap was not what they expected. Or maybe Danny and Joni just put pedal to the metal. But either way, Jarno down in 9th. He's going to have to make up some serious positions on those soft tyres. He'll have a huge amount of pace at the moment. Danny Berezne won't make it difficult at all for him. So as soon as he clears Tormela, he'll be essentially up to P7. And he has to really get on with this. Kiefer's looking really strong on these soft tyres. 1.9 seconds behind Haddad. These front 3 are all on mediums. How long can these softs go? Can Kiefer challenge Longate at the front? Rasmussen won't make it difficult for him either.
Yeah, they've worked brilliantly together this year. We have seen that on plenty of occasions, most notably in Austria, where the teamwork there was absolutely phenomenal. Progress being made through the field. Up to 8th position goes Jarno Opmeer. Opmeer, who needs to undo some of the damage being done by Freddie Rasmussen, scoring good points right now. Opmeer only in 8th. He's got his teammate ahead, though, which will not be any battle at all. But Opmeer then trying to move through the field on this softer rubber. We're looking at Joni Tormela in the AlphaTauri, as it's going to be, I believe, another place for Jarno Opmeer, now up to P7.
He's going to have to make every single lap count as Opmeer, because the Constructors' Championship for Alfa Romeo is slipping away. Red Bull were doing all they need to do to really give them a sizable advantage going into the last couple of races. And he really does need to get ahead of Kiefer and Rasmussen, essentially, but Kiefer's on the same strategy, and I don't think Opmeer has that pace advantage over the Red Bull driver. Here is Opmeer. You can see the absolute intensity in those eyes. Goodness gracious me. He is a man on a mission at the moment. Next up, Biancalila.
It's looking good right now for Jarno Opmeer at clearing the next few cars, but he's not interested in the next few cars. He's interested about disrupting those Red Bulls. They're the 2 closest drivers in the drivers' standings to him. Also, same team as well. And Matt, start of the year, Alfa Romeo could do no wrong. They were working really, really nicely together. Red Bull, over the course of the season, they've struck back.
Absolutely, Alfa Romeo did go out the blocks firing. And they look like the team that were the ones to beat, but Red Bull, they've had a few absolute masterclass strategies. Spa being one of them, Austria again, just almost perfect. Spa wasn't entirely perfect because Resnay managed to pass Kiefer on the final lap, but the strategy is there as Opmeer into the slipstream and out, an easy peasy lemon squeezy up to P6 for Opmeer. Next up to Nitsa, he's not going to be difficult, he's on medium tyres.
Then it gets tough.
And then it'll get tough, yeah.
Then some serious contenders ahead, but how brilliantly is Jarno Opmeer driving right now. This is why he's got the points lead in the championship. This is why he's closing in, but his nearest contender, Freddie Rasmussen, on for a good haul of points right now, on for 18. Jarno Opmeer trying to undo some of that damage. Why do we think it will be easy for David Tanitsa? Because Tanitsa went big early on and is nursing fading tyres. So realistically, the next car that Jarno Opmeer will be focusing on is Marcel Kiefer in the Red Bull. Got to get a clean pass though. We've seen that last couple of laps from the Dutchman.
Surprised Kiefer was looking rather feisty as he came out of the pits, but hasn't even got within DRS yet of Daniele Haddad in P3. Opmeer's making some great progress. He's now within DRS of Tanitsa. And then with a good lap or two, he's on the back of the Red Bull as well. So here's the Live Drivers' Championship. And Otmir, well, it's at 9 points there. If it stays the way it is, Otmir looks like he's going to make at least one more position up. But Kiefer, no, he's not making any impression on Haddad, who is very strong still. I'm incredibly impressed with Daniele Haddad's performance around Suzuka. Clearly a track that suits his driving style. But that's not entirely what you need if you're in this F1 Esports Pro Series. You need to be consistent throughout all of the tracks, not have your favourite one. I say that, I love China. That's pretty much the only one I'm good at.
I knew this was coming. I knew it was going to come out.
Any excuse to mention China. But either way, nothing to take away from Haddad. He's in the mix, in the hunt for the victory, and he's got nothing to lose. Neither does Longuet. Rasmussen's in the middle of that sandwich of just people trying to really make a mark and pretty much persuade their teams to keep them going into next season.
It's been a great drive so far from Nicolas Longuet, but it could all fall apart at the end here. How strong is Rasmussen at the end? That's the live driver championship standings. As you can see, he is getting the gap down. 9 points it would be with 2 to go. And that absolutely gets even better if he can clear the Renault in front. But can he clear the Renault in front? Nicolas Longuet, absolutely perfect so far. It's only so far. How many races this year have we seen settled in the final stages? And how useful for Jarno Opmeer would it be if he could clear David Tanitsa before the traditional overtaking opportunity? Going to have a chance right now on the back straight, heading to the 130R. He might have to wait until he gets to the pit straight. He will, and he'll wait, chance into the chicane. Got a lot more tyre underneath him at this stage, but that is the sensible driving that's taken him to, I say, the brink of the title. We might be about to close in to a very tight championship battle. It's going to be another overtake for the Alfa Romeo driver, Jarno Opmeer, alongside, now going past P5 for the Dutchman. Next car up the road, Marcel Kiefer.
Jarno is in full attack mode at the moment. I just looked down on his steering wheel and he's got practically no battery power left to play with at the moment, so he's going to have a couple of laps of conserving that to then go on and attack Kiefer in P4, who still isn't making an impression on the top 3. But Opmeer 1.1 behind Kiefer, so tantalisingly close to get that rear wing open and get that straight line speed advantage. Now almost within a second. Opmeer is still pushing despite having to conserve some power right now.
Yeah, Opmeer last time around, half a second quicker than the driver he is chasing down, desperately trying to get to within that DRS range. That DRS range is somewhere where this driver, Freddie Rasmussen, is sitting right now. He's been there for so many laps of the race. Can he force Nicolas Longuet into a wide moment, into an error, into a lockup that opens the door for his 3rd win of the year? That's what he's looking for. Started this race from pole. It was Longuet who was braver at turn number 2. We're running into the final stages of this one with Rasmussen right there if Longuet cracks.
Take a look at that down on the steering wheel right now as he closes in on Longuet under the brakes. He's got 70% of his ERS available to him. This is a typical Freddie Rasmussen play. I'm not going to put any pressure on Nicolas Longuet for the first 15 laps. I'm just going to let him lead. Let him deploy all the battery power. Enjoy P1. As we get to the last few laps, expect Freddie Rasmussen to really go on the aggressive and try and overtake the Renault in the lead.
Yeah, Marcel Kiefer, again, just chipping away at the advantage of Daniele Haddad last time around. It's not enough, though, to close down the gap. And you can see Jarno Opmeer absolutely does have enough to close down the gap to Marcel Kiefer. And here is that battle. Full screen for you right now with Opmeer, who finds himself needing to take points away from Red Bull in the Teams Championship, needs to take points away from Marcel Kiefer, who is still a threat in the championship and needs to minimise the damage being done by Freddie Rasmussen, chasing his first driver's title.
It's really mystifying Marcel Kiefer. He's been so strong, so consistent all year, but I'd say this is probably one of his more mediocre performances because he hasn't been able to close in, as I've mentioned. He's now in the clutches of Jarno Opmeer, who, as I just mentioned, was definitely saving some battery deployment that last lap or two, but still managed to take nearly a second out of Kiefer. Here we go, 6 laps is Kiefer on the soft tyres, Opmeer at 4. He has to make this move really quick, and he can see the front 3, they're not far away.
Oh, it is so close. If it's close in front, it was even closer behind. Danny Moreno is in a part of the racetrack that you hardly ever see, but he managed to get up to 7th position on those brand new soft, well, nearly brand new, soft tyres, certainly fresher than Biancolila, who he was able to get past. Now, Otmir in the wheel tracks, underneath the gearbox, desperately trying to get past. You can see how tight it is behind. David Tinitz has got absolutely no tyres left at all. So Danny Moreno looking at P6 right now. And Otmir needs to clear Marcel Kiefer. Let's check in with the Dutch driver, currently P5.
Kiefer didn't have a lot of ERS 5-6 laps ago, but I'm suspecting he saved a lot.
No, he didn't. I saw, lights flashing.
Okay.
There you go then. No, you're wrong. I saw his recovery. Well, basically, if you see the lights flashing on the rear of the car, it means they're saving the battery deployment. It's basically to warn the driver behind that it could be slightly slower down the straights. So Kiefer, as suspected, struggling a little bit at the moment. Otmir has to make the move now if he has any chance of getting on the podium. This is the lap.
Can he do it? He has been so well placed on the main straight, on the pit straight. As Danny Moreno closing in the background as well. Trying to get past David Tinitza. We're understandably focusing on Jarno Otmir, championship leader, DRS wide open, trying to take another place, trying to move back through the field on this favoured strategy, and this time it's not going to be simple. Opportunity lost for the Dutchman, remains where he is. He's close, he's not close enough when he gets to turn 1.
Moreno brilliantly up to P6 now on that same strategy as Otmir, gets past Tinitza, who's really struggling. 12 laps on those mediums. You've got to wonder what they were thinking with that strategy. Was it to get position? That's the only thing I can think of. But it's not worked for him. He's down to 7th as the champion from last year. Here's Freddie Rasmussen, still just preying on Nicolas Longuet. Few laps to go now. Does Freddie Rasmussen start to turn the wick up? Haddad still holding on, just maybe hoping that Longuet and Rasmussen go side by side and an incident happens or so. But right now, 0.4 of a second separating P1 and 2. Kiefer and Otmir half a second. Otmir really needs to get within 4, maybe 0.3 of a second coming out of that last chicane to really get an opportunity down towards turn 1.
Freddie Rasmussen right now in 2nd place in the championship. Could be a huge, pivotal move for the lead, and he's really close this time. We go on board. Will he try into the chicane? No, he's going to get DRS in a few moments' time, though. He has not been this close since lap number 1, when he lost the lead. We're about to go on to the penultimate tour of the race. Is he about to snatch it back as he closes in on the Renault? Longuet will be aggressive, but can he offer a defence, or is it the moment for Freddie Rasmussen, who roars around the outside to take the lead?
There you have it. That's exactly what Freddie was planning. You saw as well Nicolas Longuet go into energy charging mode because his rear light was flashing down the straight. So Longuet's been using his energy to stay in the lead of this race. Freddie Rasmussen now will look to try and really extend that gap. And if we look further down the field, Jarno Otmir, P5, still behind Kiefer, who's now 2 seconds behind Haddad. It looks as if P4 is the best Otmir can hope for in this race. Just take a couple of points away from one of the Red Bulls. That's all he can really go for here.
Jarno Otmir has been the class of the championship so far, but the next few corners for him are going to be so important. It is a 4-point championship lead right now for the driver we're on board with, and Rasmussen coming on strong at the end of the season has got the move. He does seem to have secured those 25 points.
I wouldn't say that, Alex. He's 4/10 behind his Longuet. Maybe he'll come back.
Oh, it's Freddie Rasmussen, though. So strong at executing this type of race.
I'm just doing the hype bit.
I know, very good, very good. You've learned very well in this comp box all year long, my friends. Talking of hype, big move coming up. There's the lockup. Marcel Kiefer under pressure right now. Both of these drivers on similar tyres, but Kiefer's a little bit older, and as a result, this is big. This is really big for Jarno Otmir's championship challenge. There's the defence from Kiefer. Can Otmir keep his foot to the floor and take the place? He can, and he's up to P4. Now a 6-point lead in the championship.
Great move from Otmir. Had a disappointing qualifying, starting P6, but he's made the strategy work. Not as roaring as we've seen before, where he's come through the field to win, but Jarno Otmir, I'm sure he'll take that. As you can see, 6-point lead in the Drivers' Championship. It seems as though the Constructors is slipping away. Danny Berezne's not been able to make any sort of ground up in P9. So I'm sure we'll see the tables come the end of this race, but right now Freddie Rasmussen has done all he needs to do. Out in front, let Longuet lead the race. That was the strategy. We've seen it so many times. I'm surprised Longuet decided to pretty much lead the race for the entire thing, because you could see he just didn't have the battery to defend from the Red Bull driver. But Freddie Rasmussen, he has come into his own, especially in the second half of this season, and he is looking very, very good going into the last couple of races.
He is absolutely a contender for the title. He is nearly home at a quite brilliant racetrack, a quite brilliant performance from Freddie Rasmussen, who played the waiting game and then took back the lead. It is time for his third win of the year, brilliantly executed from the man out front, who might well be in with a shout at the championship, because he's closed down the gap to 6 points. Another podium for Longuet, who couldn't quite hang on. And it is a brilliant performance from Daniele Haddad, who is going to make his way to the podium for the first time this year.
Freddie Rasmussen looking like he's just finished a practice session, but that's how we know him. P1, fantastic job from him. Nicolas Longuet as well. He's had a few difficult races, really strong at the start of the year, especially in qualifying. I'm sure he'll be happy with P2, a nice haul of points for Renault Vitality. And there's Daniele Haddad. Take a bow. I'm pretty sure he struggled to get out of Q1 a lot of times. And sticking at P3, finishing P3, a fantastic job from Daniele.
Well done to him, well done to the top three. There is Jarno Opmeer, still the championship leader. But the headline after that race is that it is wide open.
Thank you very much to Matt Gallagher and Alex Jakes there. Here is confirmation of the results then. Freddie Rasmussen picked up his third win of the season. Nicolas Longuet makes it onto the podium again, but any lingering hopes of maiden driver's title have now been extinguished. A fantastic result for Daniele Haddad, who picks up his first podium, and it was 12 points for Jarno Opmeer as he finished fourth. Teammate Berezny could only finish ninth. So Red Bull extend their lead in the team championship, and a difficult race for Brendan Lee, unable to back up his podium finish at Monza, ending the race in 15th. Alvaro Carreton finishing down in 19th, but he did record the DHL fastest lap, so well done to him for that. He also tweeted about how difficult esports is in general. Nick, I think I said extinguish, not distinguish, the race results there. Listen, we're at the touchscreen, and I want to talk about Jarno Opmeer going through the pack to try and get as many points as he possibly can to help him in the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, yet again, using that alternate strategy, which he's been using a lot, hasn't he, this year? As Alex Jakes said, he didn't come through the pack to win, but he came through, he used his soft tyres to the best of his ability and made some fantastic overtaking manoeuvres. Obviously, Freddie Rasmussen taking the win there. It was all about damage limitation, I would say, for Opmeer. This is a fantastic move on Marcel Kiefer, which was vital. It allowed him to pick up another 2 points.
Yeah, and the Red Bull's just not taking any risks. We definitely saw that. Rasmussen let Longuet through. It was just the perfect race for him, and eventually he got that overtake on Longuet.
Yeah, what a fantastic race strategy. Freddie Rasmussen is a fantastic driver when it definitely comes to the races. You could see he planned this from the start. He just allowed Longuet to use all of his battery, and then it got to a point where he had no hope in trying to defend against Rasmussen. So a great plan from him.
Yeah, listen, it is hotting up. I don't need to tell you that. And congratulations again to Daniele Haddad for getting third place. That win for Freddie moves him ever closer to the top spot, and is going to require a response from Jarno Opmeer in Mexico. Now, Opmeer still hanging on to the championship lead, and one man who will be cheering him on is Alfa Romeo Racing driver Antonio Giovinazzi, who is with Natalie Pinkham right now.
Antonio, are you there?
Yes,
There he is.
Hello.
Hello, how are you? Before we talk about the esports series, let's just hear about your season, because you finished on a high, out-qualifying your teammate, Kimi Räikkönen. No mean feat in doing that. So how do you reflect on 2020? A challenging year, of course.
Yes, it was not an easy one. Like you say, a little bit complicated also with the COVID. And we started quite late on July. So from July to December was a really tough season, tough months. And of course, we struggled a little bit with our car with the pace. But in the end, I think we recovered quite well, especially the improvement of the car was quite good from since race one to the last race. So I'm really happy with the development of the car and how we work it together. And like you say, I think in the end, your teammate is your first competitor. And I think to be in front of Kim in qualifying was something really good. In terms of points, we finished on the same points, 4 points for me and 4 points for Kimi. So I think it was good improvement also from my side compared last season to this season. And hopefully I can do another step next season and can have also we can have a better car and try to be more on the points for next season.
Absolutely, you did yourself proud. Now, what do you make of the Esports Pro Series? The talent levels are through the roof, aren't they?
Yeah, I was watching the race. Of course, I follow. With our busy schedule, was not easy this year. But I was watching actually now the race, and it's incredible competitive. It's crazy how close they are. And I was actually in this new world when there was the lockdown. For me, it was the first time, and I saw how passionate they are of this e-sport, and I really enjoyed it as well from my side. I did few races with Formula One as well, so it was a really great experience, and it's always really nice to watch a race from them. Of course, I'm supporting Alfa Romeo Racing Holland with Jarno and with Daniel as well. So, it was not an easy one before, but I think they did a great strategy to come back. I think in the end it was a good recovery. The pace was really good, so hopefully we can do better for the next one.
OK, a few quick words of wisdom for Jarno. What advice would you give him? He's had a great season so far, hasn't he?
Yes, it was a great season. He's still on the lead, so of course the pressure is quite high. But I hope for him. I hope for him the best. I will support him. 100%. We are supporting him also. In Hinwil, a lot of people from the team is watching this. So hopefully we can end the season in the right way with winning the championship. Cross finger.
Cross fingers indeed. Antonio, always a great pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for your time. OK, join us after the break when we get all the action live from Mexico.
Welcome back then, here to the Gfinity Arena. Great to catch up with Antonio Giovinazzi.
He's so lovely, isn't he?
My fingers are crossed.
My fingers are crossed, but yeah.
We head to the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City.
In.
What do we need to know about that iconic Grand Prix?
Well, I tell you what, it's just a really cool place to go. You've got that cauldron of noise in the bowl, where they have all the concerts and stuff. And they reckon that it's one of the best places on earth to watch live sport because it generates so much noise. And of course, the podium as well in the middle of it, it just takes it to another level. But the altitude, I think, is really interesting. I always find it so fascinating how different cars fare that far, 7,000 feet above sea level?
Yeah. Well, it's remarkable. And Nick, the guys aren't going to have the altitude. We know that. And when we looked at the qualifying, knowing what Freddie Rasmussen has to do and Jarno Opmeer and how he has to kind of like stay consistent and try and get as many points as possible to win the Drivers' Championship, when we went to Q2, it was all about that Red Bull team being as consistent they have been all season.
Yeah, well, firstly, this is Nicolas Longuet going out in Q2. Starts P11, which is a big shock, I would say, for him. Something he needs to work on for the race. But yes, as you said, Freddie Rasmussen doing the business and doing a fantastic lap. He ended up doing a 112.1, I believe. This wasn't the lap. Yep, it wasn't. But yeah, fantastic job. But Danny Berezne did a really good job as well. Really being there as a rear gunner for his teammate Jarno Opmeer, and as always, Red Bull being very, very consistent. So I think it's going to be a fantastic race to watch. I'm really excited to see what happens into turn one, because you're going to have Jarno Opmeer starting from P2, getting the job done. Mr. Hot Lapper, as we know, and has got stronger and stronger as the year's gone on in the races. But who's going to be leading out of turn one between them, we do not know. David Tonitza doing a great job going to P3. He did that right at the end. He was P10. He hadn't had a lap time up until then. So, yeah, let's see. It's going to be really exciting.
Now, during the qualifying show, which is at 3:30 tomorrow again, I always talk about the Haas team. I know that we're going to look at the grid. Rasmussen starts on P1, Jarno Opmeer in P2, David Tonitza, you just mentioned, in P3. Those Red Bulls, we're going to have to hope, if you're an Alfa Romeo fan, that Danny Berezne can take advantage of any mistakes that happen with Marcel Kiefer and Rasmussen. But Simon Weigang, Daniele Haddad, both of their teams giving them an opportunity to not be bottom of the team championship. A lot of pressure on those guys' shoulders. Natty.
Nobody wants that, do they? Oh, I've got a couple of little gems for you from Anthony Davidson about this track. It's all about being patient with the car on the entry to almost every corner on the track to maximise the exits, and it's an easy track to overdrive. Okay. So that is the crucial thing to remember. You don't want to lose time by sliding around everywhere. But back to the starting grid.
No, you do not want that at all. Nicolas Longuet said Mexico is actually one of the hardest track in terms of track limits and exceeding that. We've got a little bit of time before we get to the race. It is going to be a battle, but with those track limits, who does that give more pressure to, the Alfa Romeo team or the Red Bull team with the positions on the grid?
I'd literally say everyone, because especially Sector 2 is such high speed. And as I was trying to explain in the quali show, there's no barriers or walls that stop the drivers from dipping a wheel over the back of the curb, from the left-hander to the right-hander. So track limits is so key here. And if you get pinged for track limits, it could really change the championship, change a race, can be really, really detrimental.
Yeah, and this is the first time that this track has ever been in the F1 Esports series. So these guys don't have previous. So whatever happens, we'll be setting new markers, new records going forward to hopefully next year as well. So there isn't that experience they bring into this race. But in terms of someone like Jarno Opmeer, he's just got to stay consistent because he's got a 6-point lead at the moment.
I think there's a target on his back. You know, the pressure is on him because there is a pack hunting him down, well, albeit a small one. But yeah, the track limit's an interesting one because I feel like it really undermines your weekend as a whole. If you exceed the track limits, and we saw it with Charles Leclerc last weekend in Abu Dhabi, just as you kind of get into a bit of groove and get some momentum going, you have your time deleted or you're impeded, your race is undermined as a result of it. So psychologically, I think it's a tricky one to get your head around.
OK, so we're going into this. We know what the points are in the team championship. We know it's Red Bulls to lose. They need to be consistent. And all season, we've looked at that. Marcel Kiefer and Freddie Rasmussen, how consistent they've been. It's going to be a tall order for Danny Berezne, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be tough for him. He needs to make sure he's thereabouts to help Jarno, because you never know how the race is going to go. I'm really excited to see what happens into turn one, because we've seen Jarno Opmeer in Austria. He was sort of staying out of trouble, making sure he didn't get in anybody's way, because he had a lot to lose. If he got clipped, lost a front wing, could be very detrimental to his race and championship. But the guy he's up against now into turn one is Freddie Rasmussen. The guy is second in the championship. So who's going to get their elbows out is my question. And I can't wait for the race to start. But yeah, Danny Berezne has got to be there. He is thereabouts, did a really good job starting, P6. So yeah, it's going to be a battle of the teams.
Natalie, final question. I want to talk about him because he got a 3rd place finish. He got his first podium of this season. Daniele Haddad representing for Racing Point. That should give him the confidence because he works so hard behind the scenes, tirelessly. That will give him the confidence going into Mexico City.
I mean, you look at someone like Esteban Ocon in the real world, who's worked so hard, finally gets that breakthrough podium, and I think that changes everything in terms of their mindset. They've done it once and they've logged that first podium. Hopefully that then gets them into a groove of racing and performing, delivering, you know, potentially more podiums. But it's fantastic for him at this stage of the season, because he must have thought, is it ever going to come? And it has.
Yeah, OK. Well, listen, look out for that, guys. I can't wait to watch it with you down here. Up there in the commentary area is Alex Jake's Matt Gallagher. Gentlemen, apparently there's a different name for a particular area of the track now, Matt Gallagher.
Well, I didn't change it, but from the Quali show, someone has gone on Wikipedia and changed the Coliseum Bowl, whatever you want to call it, to the Matt Gallagher Bowl. So, again, wasn't me who changed it.
Are you sure, Matt?
Very.
OK. Good to know. Good to know. Very tense moment in the championship. We're talking about the Matt Gallagher Bowl. Great to know.
If there's any moves into the Matt Gallagher Bowl, I'm going to be very happy indeed.
Gentlemen, I'm laughing. I didn't know I was going to come back in the shot. So what do you make for this show then, in terms of this race? Mexico City. I do apologise for that laugh. Guys, how do you see it going then?
See it being very risky indeed. Down to turn 1, because think of the real thing. It is always a bit of a mess, isn't it, Matt? Down to turn 1. Turn 3 is tough. We've seen collisions there in the past. And if that happens between the top 2 in the championship, could have huge ramifications.
I cannot wait to see how this unfolds. We've got, well, the front 2 at the front of the grid. Will Otmir make the mistake or a risk? Let's see it.
5 lights on, 5 lights off, and the penultimate race of the championship is underway. The top 2 in the points battle, about to go side by side, and that hugely long run down to turn number 1 with David Tanitza, who doesn't need to worry about it at all. Trying to go down the middle, looking good right now for Jarno Otmir, who's going to get to the apex first, but sweeping around the outside is Freddie Rasmussen, who maintains the lead.
Out.
And David Tanitza's gone at the very start of the race. So it's Rasmussen against Otmir. The top 2 in the championship are about to go wheel to wheel. Are we going to see the move from Jarno Otmir? No, he can't make that move. And so Freddie Rasmussen, if he stays where he is right now, will have the points lead going into the final race of the season. Long way to go, though. Lap 1 of 25. We have lost Tanitza, Rasmussen, Otmir, Lee in 3rd, Berezne up in 4th, Marcel Kiefer in 5th position. If Red Bull outscore the Alphas, Red Bull are team champions in 2020, and it was frenetic stuff down to turn number 1, but it's Rasmussen, Otmir, Lee, your top 3.
Good start for Danny Berezne, getting ahead of Marcel Kiefer up to P4. Can certainly mount a challenge on the likes of Brendan Lee ahead. A lot of the drivers I can see starting on the soft tyres, the aggressive strategy. We've not seen that from Jarno Otmir too often, but he wants to try and pile on the pressure to Freddie Rasmussen, who is currently in the lead of this race. And interestingly, Freddie's done a pretty decent middle and last sector to get a gap, and Brendan Lee's having a look.
Got Brendan Lee with an enormous slipstream and tucks back in with DRS. That would have been a different story. Knows he hasn't got long to wait. The 2-time champion currently in 3rd place, just the 1 podium finish so far this year, looking to make it 2 today, in a great position to do so. 3rd in the order at the moment. Danny Berezne 4th, and Marcel Kiefer not too far away. Lockups then into turn 4 as they make their way around this circuit. First time ever that we've had this in the Pro Series, and Freddie Rasmussen putting together a strong start of the race as we settle down into a bit of an order on lap number 2.
As it stands, Red Bull will be champions. Freddie Rasmussen scoring 25, Marcel Kiefer scoring 10, and then Otmir will be 18, Berezne 12. So outscoring by 5 points at the moment, if my maths is correct, which I think it is. But so Jarno Otmir has nothing to lose in terms of the team's championship. That's where the money is decided. $750,000 on the line. And Jarno Otmir, he wants to win the Drivers' Championship, don't get me wrong, but this is a team game as well, and Jarno has to send it to get ahead of Freddie. But we've seen in the last race tonight that Freddie Rasmussen just bided his time, just sat behind Longuet for a very long time, saving his energy, and then attacked in the last few races. Will we see that again from Otmir? Will we see an undercut potentially? Because that's something that Otmir can go for it if he wants to. He can do the opposite of Rasmussen as we get towards the pit window, which will be definitely a few laps from now. We've still got 22 remaining. But real shame for Tanitsa to be out of the race. He was certainly a factor to weigh into this equation because he was really quick, great qualifying. Had nothing to lose as well, being last year's champ, but out of championship contention. We've lost him, but we've still got Rasmussen versus Otmir with Berezne and Kiefer lurking behind.
Yeah, on board with Marcel Kiefer, and he is making his way through this really difficult section, especially if you're having to think about the tyres later on in the race. Threading the needle through, they're very difficult indeed as we go to what used to be known as the Forest Sol, the stadium section. And we've got Marcel Kiefer chasing down Danny Berezne. Danny Berezne has to stay there if Alfa are going to have any opportunity at all. And Jarno Otmir is the driver that Alfa are now looking at to make the move as they go on to the never-ending, seemingly never-ending straight. And you can see DRS for the man who has held the championship lead for so long. But if it finishes like this, he is losing that championship lead heading in to the final race of this 2020 season. And right now, Brendan Lee seems slightly more comfortable. He's got that DRS. He is trying to make himself large in the mirrors. All the while, they're trying to take these Red Bull soft tyres as far as possible. We're looking further down the order to Manuel Biancoli, and he is in 9th place chasing Danny Haddad, who has found a real breakthrough of pace today. Wonderful podium for him at Suzuka, and trying to back it up with another points finish today.
Let's also give a quick shout out to Casper Janssen, our debutant for the Mexican Grand Prix, ahead of his teammate Nicolas Longuet at the moment. I reckon that probably was a switch because Janssen is on the softs. Longuet looks to be on the mediums, as you can see in the background there, the yellow wall tyre. So Casper Janssen having a pretty decent start to this race. Look, right behind Biancalila, almost pushing him round into the Matt Gallagher Bowl.
Shoving him into the stadium section and not able to find his way through for the moment, but seems to have good traction right now. So can he force his way through? They all take the tight line in qualifying, the racing line now, when they are on to lap number 5. And Casper Janssen had to bide his time, had to wait for his chance. And he's part of the DRS train that we have right now, down to turn number 1. And even though he had that, so did the driver in front, so he stays right there. Driver who doesn't have it, Racing Point's Daniele Haddad, and he is driving on his mirrors right now.
So you have to wonder if Daniele Haddad has some damage, because you can see on the left side of, as you look at it, the end plate is missing. So Daniele Haddad, I feel, may have touched Tanitsa, and that's where the damage came from. So right now you can see how much Haddad is struggling, and yet the car, look at the train behind. They can't get through, despite the start-finish straight being so incredibly long. It's not long enough for Biancalila to make it through, but Biancalila has end plate damage as well, as you can see on his front left side. Front right as you look at it now. So everyone's got damage by the looks of things, and that's what's caused this 3.5-second gap to Danny Moreno, who's also got a 3.5-second gap to Simon Weigang, who's sitting very pretty in P6. So yeah, we've got a huge train stacking up behind Haddad.
We've already gone racing today at Suzuka, and we have seen that is a technical infield with a long straight to make.
Kiefer close.
Kiefer's got the opportunity on Danny Berezne. There you go, pulling alongside. He'll have the inside line. He'll have the place. Marcel Kiefer up to 4th position. And if it was looking good for Red Bull before, it is looking even better now. They are on course for the team championship. Meanwhile, back to the DRS train, and it is going to be very, very frenetic. This all being caused, as Matt has talked you through, by the fact that 2 cars at the head of the field have damage. And look, they're all over the road now as Biancalila tries to move up to 8th position. And he's going to get there. He's going to make the move through. Can anyone be opportunistic behind?
Oh,
no, right now they can't. Nicolas Longuet has got past Casper Janssen, and he is up to 10th position. But basically, we've got 8th all the way downwards, separated by hardly anything. Now, big question, can Biancalila pull away?
This has really ruined Nicolas Longuet's race, to be honest, because the gap to the front 6 is almost 8 seconds because of these 2 at the front of the train with wing damage. So the front 6 are broken away. That's clear to see. Danny Moreno's in his own little world in 7th. And, I think the best that Longuet can hope for is he looks like does he come into the pits, or has he made a mistake? He's dropped all the way down to P18. I'm not seeing pit, so there's been a problem there for Longuet.
So issue for Longuet drops him out of contention for the points. Meanwhile, back to the race lead. Freddie Rasmussen in P1, but Jarno Opmeer has decided to turn the wick up and he has closed down that gap.
Sorry, Alex, just quickly, look at the steering wheel. Opmeer has not used hardly any of his energy deployment. This is a waiting game.
So he's going to try and do to Freddie Rasmussen what Freddie Rasmussen has done time and time again this year. Wait and then deploy. Rasmussen, Opmeer, Brendan Lee still the top three. And Nicolas Longuet out of contention as we go into the fast sweepers in the middle part of the track once more.
This radio engineer, the one in the game, will be saying, use some of your deployment. Goodness me, what's going on here? This is the broken wing train.
It is indeed. Casper Jensen trying to go on the inside. Daniele Haddad said, yeah, sure, you do that. I'm keeping my foot flat to the floor and maintaining P9. All the while, the AlphaTauri is checking out front. Got to make the moves cleanly here. Can't afford what happened to Longuet. Can't afford to head back, and you can see how messy it gets. And round goes Lucas Blakely. So just like we saw for Longuet, trying to make the moves in this train of cars, it's so easy to make contact. He had a chance of taking 10th position, and he's been dropped to the back behind Nicolas Longuet, now 18th. Oh, he was so close to the points, and it's all gone wrong for Lucas Blakely. Now, once again, Casper Jensen, he is hoping that this is the moment where he's able to get past, but Daniele Haddad still has DRS to defend and still has 9th place.
Oh, the dive up the inside.
Oh, that was so late. That was so late. I wasn't expecting that at all. And Casper Jensen finds the way through. Now can Daniele Haddad hang on to it? So easy to get shuffled back in these moments. He's going to try and go all the way around the outside. Oh, it's getting messy in the middle there. Outside line becomes the inside line. Who wins this battle? Casper Jensen had 9th place. Can he claim it back? They're too wide for corner after corner after corner. And Casper Jensen, this time, has he got it? You bet he has. He's finally made his way through and he can breathe again. He's P9.
This is absolute carnage at the moment. If I'm one of the team radio engineers for the likes of Casper Jensen, I'd say relax. The top 6 have gone. Don't take any risks. Let's get a few points in the bag. We've been hindered by 2 drivers with front wing damage. Finally, Casper gets through. Doesn't seem to have picked up any wing damage himself. Now we can set after Biancalila, who's also ailing, and then just settle down and secure P8 as Opmeer has a look, but saves once again. Just relaxing. We'll see an interesting phase of this race where, okay, the likes of Opmeer, maybe Lee aren't pushing for track position right now, but the likes of Weigang, Berezne at the back of this train, expect them to go for a more aggressive undercut. Try and get in the mix of P2, P3, because that's where they want to be come the end of the race, where they can then deploy their energy and really go for the moves.
On board with P4, not much separating the win from off the podium right now. And Marcel Kiefer trying to close in, trying to get up and celebrate the team championship with a Red Bull 1-2. Kiefer, who is in a decent position right now. We have not seen the spread that maybe we would have done in other races earlier this year. And Brendan Lee, a little bit of a lock up there for Marcel Kiefer, but he is only a little bit ahead. Simon Weigang in a very strong P6 at the moment. Danny Moreno P7. And it's time for the early undercut attempt. We are on board with the driver locking up and trying to get down to the limit. Marcel Kiefer decides to pull the trigger early.
So let's see where Marcel ends up. This is the kind of strategy I expected from Alfa Romeo, to be honest. I thought Danny Berezne would be one of the first to pit. Fortunately for him, he still manages to stay within DRS of Brendan Lee. So Marcel Kiefer, where is he going to filter out? There's going to be a lot of traffic in front of him. He's going to filter out in P16. And that's Lucas Blakely, who we saw spinning a little bit earlier on. So he's going to have some traffic to deal with here. So maybe the undercut isn't the preferential strategy because there's drivers ahead of him on the medium tyre yet to pit.
Yeah, and not only that, if you get past Lucas Blakely, the next thing you come up to is the really exciting and fun train of drivers. You can see Daniele Haddad has now fallen back to 19th position. And lap 10 of 25 then. Jarno Opmeer in P2, just waiting to have the battle after he's tried the undercut attempt or the overcut attempt. He's going to be able to directly respond to whatever the Red Bull in front does. And Rasmussen, is he peeling off to the pits? He is, you know, race leader, comes in, And Freddie Rasmussen has decided to go early, and now is the top two on the racetrack, Jarno Opmeer and Danny Berezne, because both the Mercedes and the Red Bull have come in. So they're going to get onto the medium rubber, and Opmeer and Berezne are going to try and eke out the time so that they can attack more on this compound towards the end of the race.
Marcel's stuck behind Nicholas Longate. He may have just made it through. And in fact, let's see where they filter out after all this. I think you can see Marcel in the background.
Look, he's right into the train here. This is a difficult moment to reappear out on track. He's ahead of his teammate, but he's having to go to the inside there of the Williams and Michael Romanidis.
This could work for Alpha. This could really work for Alpha.
So they're in clear air right now, and now Freddie Rasmussen having to pick his way through. Do they respond immediately and try and take advantage of this slow outlap, or do they try and solidify the advantage, knowing that they have to do everything to try and keep the team championship alive?
Stay out. If you're Jarno Opmeer and Danny Berezne, stay out. Look how slowly Rasmussen's having to go behind Cedric Tomé and Enzo Benito on worn medium tyres at the moment. This could put the two into real contention as we get to the latter stages of this race, because look, Rasmussen just can't get through on Tomé. He's trying so hard, and the Haas gets out of the way eventually, but that's so much time lost for Rasmussen.
Give you an idea, last time around...
Berezne pits.
So Berezne comes in, he's going to cover it off. Jarno Opmeer's going to go once again, but the lap before this one, the Haas was a second slower than the Alfa Romeos in clear air. So this really could alter things. Was it the right strategy for Red Bull? We're about to find out. Danny Berezne is going to come out, and there he is. He's going to come out into the train as well, as is another position gained for Freddie Rasmussen, who is past Enzo Benito in the sole remaining Ferrari. So Freddie Rasmussen now up to 6th position after having to pick his way through the field. Jarno Opmeer, remember, just a few tenths of a second behind, has the opportunity to respond. Will he try and go longer? It's Opmeer, Moreno, Caraton at the moment as the strategies play out right now. 19.4 seconds between the race leader and the driver who had that P1 position in his possession earlier on in the lead Red Bull. And here is the Alfa Romeo driver out front at the moment. 18 seconds the difference. Where is he going to come out and respond? Will he respond on this lap? Will he try and cover it off? He's going to have fresher tyres. Yes, he will come into the pits. Huge moment in the context of the Drivers' Championship as Jarno Opmeer pits, and he will send it down to his Alfa Romeo team. Freddie Rasmussen, how quickly did he pick his way through the traffic? Can he maintain the race lead? We're about to get our answer in a few moments' time.
Really surprised to see Berezne not further up the field. He's in 11th at the moment, getting held up behind the likes of Longay and Benito. Simon Weigang is behind Berezne as well.
Go. Leaving the pits is Jarno Opmeer, and it's not worked out. Both Red Bulls get through.
And Brendan Lee.
So Brendan Lee jumps ahead. Rasmussen, Kiefer, Brendan Lee and Jarno Opmeer. So he's on fresher tyres, but he's lost track position, and Freddie Rasmussen is in a phenomenal position now to take huge points out of Jarno Opmeer. Jarno Opmeer is going to have to respond on track. He's going to have to respond quickly. That's something that Danny Berezne is trying to do to the inside right now of Enzo Benito. And so it's Red Bull 5 and 6. 8th and 9th right now are the Alphas. And Jarno Opmeer is going to have to get through the teammate of Freddie Rasmussen. Red Bull looking good for the team championship, looking good for the drivers' championship if you're Freddie Rasmussen at the moment. One race to go after this one. Opmeer with work to do.
I can see why the Alfa Romeo team decided to keep out Opmeer at least, because you just saw how much Rasmussen was being held up, but clearly the undercut's still incredibly strong around here, as those soft tyres were really at the end of their lifespan for Jarno Opmeer. You could see the gap coming down as we saw that live delta before Jarno came into the pits. But he's in a good position. He needs to dispatch of Brendan Lee so he can really focus on the two Red Bulls, but we've seen this situation before.
Now, here we go. Jarno Opmeer has DRS, so does Brendan Lee, but Brendan Lee can't use it to defend, and Jarno Opmeer is going to improve. It's only 7th position at the moment, and the lock-up for Marcel Kiefer will give him so much hope that he can catch and pass him. How quickly can he do it? Further up the road, you can see that Freddie Rasmussen is lining up P4. Here's the move that Jarno Opmeer really needs. Wasn't even a contest. Oh, dramatic stuff from Jarno Opmeer, who's cleared Brendan Lee. He's cleared Marcel Kiefer. Freddie Rasmussen is just up the road. He's got past Bono Huis, the top two in the championship, having to pick their way through the cars that haven't stopped right now.
What a first sector for Jarno Opmeer, dispatching of Brendan Lee and Marcel Kiefer. He now can set his sights on Freddie Rasmussen as soon as he gets past the ailing Bono Huis on a different strategy altogether. You'd imagine Jarno will dispatch of him very quickly indeed, but don't rush it, Jarno. Freddie Rasmussen is clearly taking his time, not doing anything stupid through this traffic, and we've not seen this before, Alex. It's usually been all the back markers or the drivers on different strategies in the pits by now, but clearly the mediums have to go a lot longer into the race. Bono Huis comes into the pits. Jarno Opmeer can focus on Freddie Rasmussen.
Bono Huis, who was a driver that Freddie Rasmussen had to pick his way past, gets out of the way for Jarno Opmeer, who will be breathing slightly easier by the time he gets to the end of the straight. He is within DRS range, and Freddie Rasmussen, well, it looked perilous for him, didn't it, when he came out of the pits in that traffic. Freddie Rasmussen has increased, when it all shakes out, he's increased his gap over Jarno Opmeer. Then it's going to come down to how much deployment you have available in terms of recovered energy. It's going to come down to those fresher tyres. Will those 2 laps that they kept him out there give him the advantage at the end?
So if this ends this way, Freddie Rasmussen winning, Jarno Opmeer second, we will have a final race, 1 point separating. Yeah. I mean, could you write a better script? Honestly, hype man Alex Jakes is going to love that tomorrow if it finishes that way, but Jarno Opmeer has something to say about that, and he's looking very feisty indeed. He's got himself into a brilliant position. He's got fresher tyres as well. So Freddie Rasmussen has got his work cut out to keep him behind. You can see down on the steering wheel as well that Jarno Opmeer has around 60% saved up of his battery, which is a huge amount of a deployment he'll be able to use over the coming laps when he decides to attack. So let's actually turn our attentions to Freddie Rasmussen, the driver now in the lead, and we'll hear team radio right about now.
I have damage.
You've got damage?
Yeah.
Well, we saw the impact that had earlier on for Haddad. That could be huge for Jarno Opmeer, who is catching him hand over fist right now. Danny Moreno's come into the pits. He's rejoined in 7th position. The top 2 in the championship, though, about to go wheel to wheel. And Rasmussen, we've heard him report damage. We need to see that front wing. We need to see if that is the area of the car where the damage has occurred, because if it is, it's a case of just stay there and close in. If you're Jarno Opmeer, he will know that it's this part of the racetrack where the damage will really hurt the Red Bull. Opmeer closing in. It looked like he was going to lose the championship lead. If that Red Bull has damage, Matt, it's going to swing back the way of Jarno Opmeer.
And Alfa Romeo as well. If Danny Berezne can get in the hunt, Freddie Rasmussen doesn't look like he's struggling as much as I maybe anticipated with the I have damaged team radio. Is this a Lewis Hamilton, my tyres are gone? And in fact, his car is in pristine condition. We will find out. But he's not struggling as much as maybe the neutral fan that wants to see a championship fight right to the wire unfold. But I'm sure at the same time, Jarno Opmeer will have been told that immediately. Let's have a look. I can't see anything on his front wing in terms of an end plate gone, so it might be very minor damage for the Red Bull. But this is the point I made, Alex. When he was going through the field, it looked like he was taking his time, biding his time, but he clearly clipped one of the back markers.
Let's hear from the P2 man right now.
Nice.
Doing a fantastic job, boys.
Danny, Brendan and Marcel have pretty much no ERS.
Yeah, I see they are flashing.
You got the fresher tyres as well.
I genuinely thought we just had a nice.
I was hoping that was all it's going to be. That would have been my favourite team radio of the year.
Absolutely.
This is fantastically poised. We have made our way to lap 17. First 2 laps seem to be ticking on by and taking a while. Now look at Danny Berezne in the background. Knows he needs to put pressure on. Red Bull in a position to claim the team championship right now. And Danny Berezne needs to climb past Brendan Lee. And then they both need to go on the attack. So most of the races this season have been settled on the penultimate or final lap of the race. Are we going to see that once again? Freddie Rasmussen, who was P2 for so much of Suzuka and then struck on lap 18 of 19. Well, we're on lap 18 of 25 right now. He's reported damage. It's not as extensive as we saw for other cars earlier in the race, but there's 0.4 of a second between the leading contenders. We're going to put a new name on the trophy tomorrow. Who's it going to be, Rasmussen or Otmar? Otmar, who has led this championship for so long, will desperately want to get past Alfa know that the team championship is a long shot, and Jarno Otmar will be desperate to claim that title and join Brendan Lee and David Tanitsa as a pro esports series champion.
Absolutely, Jarno Otmar, with the intensity in his eyes, he sees one thing and one thing only, and that's securing the driver's title and hopefully helping Alfa Romeo to mount a challenge for the team's title as well. But he needs help from Danny Berezny, currently running in 5th, still in the mix. This could all change in the next 7 laps or so. Quick mention, yes, Casper Janssen, he was running in P10, out of the race. So not sure what happened to him, but that's a real big shame. He was potentially going to score points in his first ever race. Also, quick shout out to James Baldwin up in P9 and Alvaro Caraton in 8th.
Here we go with the top 2 in the championship, and the best run that we've seen so far for Jarno Otmar, who's going to get to the first corner ahead of his championship rival. And Jarno Otmar takes the lead, not only of the race, but now he's extending his points lead in the championship. Looked like it was getting away from him. Freddie Rasmussen has reported damage, and Jarno Otmar takes the lead, takes advantage, and the man who started on the front row is now staring at a huge advantage going into the final race of the year. There was nothing that Rasmussen seemed to be able to do.
Didn't open his DRS either, Rasmussen, down that previous straight, which is a little bit strange. So I wonder if Rasmussen's having some issues. But either way, we'll see now how much damage Rasmussen has, because Otmar is going to send it. You can see it, 8 tenths already between the Alfa Romeo and the Red Bull. He's trying to break DRS within this lap.
He's giving it everything right now. Heading into the stadium section. Here's a man that always gives everything, Brendan Lee, trying to take advantage. Red Bull in a good position to take the team championship, but they don't look as strong as they have earlier in the season. Remember, Marcel Kiefer as well, as the graphic on the left-hand side is going to show you, came in very, very early. And Brendan Lee has that 1 lap advantage. If the tyres are going to go away, we're going to find out rather soon. Jarno Otmar on the freshest tyres here, 6 laps, and now with the race lead, as we are on board with the Mercedes driver, and he's not too far away right now. But Kiefer is going to make that Red Bull very wide indeed.
When's Brendan Lee going to strike? He's got 40% on his battery, which is a decent amount to mount a charge in the next few laps if he wants to. I wonder how many of these drivers have a huge amount of energy deployment. We'll have to see when we ride on board with them. But Jarno Otmar is now the leader of this train. He won't get benefit of DRS. He'll have to use battery deployment down the straight in order to defend from Freddie Rasmussen, who isn't struggling as much as we first anticipated from that team radio. But the likes of Berezny and Lee look like the 2 drivers closest to making a move. Brendan Lee needs to get ahead of Kiefer, and then it's all for P2 for Brendan, because we've been told Freddie Rasmussen is struggling. But right now, he's got his rear gunner, Marcel Kiefer, sat there protecting Freddie Rasmussen.
James Baldwin thinking about a move on Alvaro Caraton. Williams driver is ahead for the time being. So James Baldwin, right now, he's got his teammate down the road in, well, what was 7th place, but that has now changed up to 6th for Danny Moreno on the soft tyre, of course, so he is picking his way through the field.
Could Danny Moreno get onto the back of this train on soft tyres? I wonder.
He's got an opportunity.
He's closing in.
Let's have a look at the other McLaren. Let's see if James Baldwin can find the way past. Looking good for him. And he is going to find a way through. James Baldwin up to 8th.
So we're going to keep an eye on Danny Moreno's times on the soft tyre. Last lap around for him was a 15.8, which was faster than every single driver ahead of him. Berezny with a 16.4, so 6 tenths out, and you can see already he's within DRS, as is Simon Weigang. This is now a 7-horse race.
Just your classic 7-horse race with 2 championships in the mix, team and driver. Rasmussen overtaken, and that is going to be Alvaro Caraton, currently in 9th place, trying to keep Bono Huis behind him in the 2nd Mercedes on track. And Bono Huis, for the time being, trying to force his way through. He'll be brave and a tad stupid to try that at that part of the racetrack, so he's going to wait to the more traditional main straight as we go back to his teammate Brendan Lee. And Brendan Lee has Danny Berezny behind. Berezny eating into that gap. You can see it's 0.2 of a second. Is he going to be the last of the late breakers? He'd like to be, but not this time.
So Moreno needs to, well, try and get past Dani Berezne if he wants to get into the podium positions. He's looking very strong indeed. He's just rocked up to the back of Dani Berezne, but catching is one thing, passing is definitely another, especially in this F1 Esports Pro Series. All the drivers ahead have DRS to defend. Kiefer looks like he's had a bit of a struggle in these first couple of corners. Brendan Lee all over the back of that Red Bull rear diffuser. Jarno Opmeer only 4 tenths ahead of Freddie Rasmussen. These positions are not done and dusted just yet.
Dani Moreno, the Rookie of the Year, had a terrific first campaign. Very, very comfortable at McLaren. One time he's been on the podium so far this year. Well, can he make it 2? Can he find a way past this gaggle? He's got such an advantage. The problem for him is that the DRS on the main straight helps everyone in front of him. It's one lockup, isn't it, Matt? It's one mistake and this entire order could change.
He's got a great opportunity down this straight.
Now, how quickly can he get past? First of all, ahead of us, Dani Berezne.
Not deploying, I don't think, by the looks of things. He's not catching.
He's keeping it for the time being. Berezne using it. Now here we go with Brendan Lee to the inside. 3rd place for the 2-time champ. He is up onto the podium as it stands, and he's found his way past Marcel Kiefer. Kiefer going for that aggressive undercut, and his tyres are fading at this stage of proceedings. That 23-25. So Opmeer, Rasmussen, and then Brendan Lee. Opmeer in a great position for the title right now. Red Bull 2nd and 4th. Now doing enough, it seems, to take that team championship despite Jarno Opmeer's effort. So it's good news for Alpha and the drivers. It's good news for Red Bull in the teams. It's good news for Brendan Lee, who is staring at another podium. And he has got used to that feeling in this championship. Not been a contender for the title this year, but we're about to go on to the penultimate lap, and he's absolutely got an opportunity of taking P2 here. Brendan Lee onto the main straight once more. And the Red Bulls are under pressure. The final laps of this race, penultimate one of the year. This time, Dani Berezne is almost nudging the Red Bull along. He pulls out of the slipstream, gets to the inside. Kiefer knows he's got to be competitive there, but he can't be, and Berezne takes P4.
This team's championship is not over. Dani Moreno as well getting in the mix. Kiefer's really struggling, and it's 3 wide almost.
Oh my goodness me, Moreno gets there, finds a way through to P5. Now he's got such a traction advantage, but has he got the line to use it? Yes, you see, when he put his foot flat to the floor, that soft rubber was much better than the ailing medium of Marcel Kiefer, and Dani Berezne is going to try and hang on to P4. Great drive through the field for Dani Moreno.
Brendan Lee could spoil this Red Bull Team Championship party. If he gets past Rasmussen, my maths says this goes to the final race. It's going to be a big chance for, well, it'd have to be a bit of luck for Alfa Romeo to win the team's title. But look at this, Jarno Opmeer's 1.8 ahead of Freddie Rasmussen. Surely Rasmussen is a sitting duck here for Brendan Lee.
Oh, that at last, after talking about nudging them through the corners, there was contact between 2nd and 3rd, and Rasmussen is closing in. Okay, they're in 8th gear. Look at the advantage of DRS that's drawing us closer, and it doesn't matter about the defensive move for the man in P2, because he's not going to stay there. The Mercedes has got there. Brendan Lee up to 2nd place. It's Opmeer, Lee, and then Rasmussen.
Dani Berezne, he has to get Freddie Rasmussen on this last lap to really help his team out here. Half a second behind Freddie, who is really struggling at the moment. Brendan Lee gets the use of DRS once again to pull away from Freddie Rasmussen. Dani Moreno still looking feisty in P5 as well. This is not over, but there's probably one more DRS usage before the end of this lap. Freddie Rasmussen just has to hold on to P3 to give Red Bull the biggest advantage possible into the last race.
So Jarno Opmeer is very nearly there. It is a race that he had to wait for his opportunity. And it's Otmir, Brendan Lee and Freddie Rasmussen who look like they're going to complete the podium. Here is Jarno Otmir. It looked as if he was going to lose the championship lead. It looked like he was heading to Freddie Rasmussen, but Jarno Otmir comes across the line and he puts one hand on the trophy. He wins at Mexico City. Brendan Lee is P2. An excellent performance there, and he has done it again to go to the brink of the title.
Awesome stuff from Jarno Otmir, and also for Brendan Lee, Aramco Driver of the Day. Great to see the two-time champ in the mix, in the hunt, getting Freddie Rasmussen right at the death there. And well, Jarno Otmir, he's been being caught over the last few rounds. He's now looking very strong into the final race.
There's the man with the fastest lap, Nicholas Longay, and he has managed to confirm it. Red Bull did not do enough to take the team championship. That also goes to the wire.
Well, it is fair to say both championships are still wide open. We'll be back tomorrow with a qualifying show at 3:30 to unpack everything. Thank you very much to Natalie, to Nick, to Alex Jakes and Matt Gallagher, and thank you very much to you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.